Welcome to Dawn of a Story. This is more than a podcast. It's a place where we speak the truth, tell the stories that shape us, and honor the moments that made us who we are. I created the space because I believe storytelling is how we connect, how we heal, and how we remember who we are. Some stories are still being written. Some are full of laughter. Some have changed everything, but all of them matter. Whether it's my story or one of my guests, my hope is that you hear something that resonates, that reminds you that you are not alone and encourages you to tell your story too. So settle in because every story starts somewhere, and this one starts now. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to Dawn of a Story. I'm your host, Dawn Pascal. I'm so very grateful you decided to spend your time with me and my guest this week, Hope Rothenberg. Every show, we will be exploring a new theme, and this week's theme is the courage to choose myself. There comes a time when staying the same costs more than the risk of the change. My guest today knows what it means to make the bold choice to step into her own freedom, leadership, and power. This conversation is about the courage it takes to choose yourself, even when it's not easy, and the transformation that comes when you finally do. So, let me tell you a little about my guest. Hope Rothenberg grew up in New York City, now calls Bergen County home. Even though she loves the energy of walking through Manhattan. She first discovered her passion for event planning through her mom, who taught her the value of detail and organization, and she honed her skills by volunteering for community celebrations and fundraisers. Her professional experience includes leading the Fort Lee Regional Chamber of Commerce, where she even pulled off a virtual gala during the pandemic to keep the chamber afloat. From town centennial celebrations to milestone family events, Hope has a gift of creating meaningful moments, and she believes the most powerful events are the ones that simply say thank you. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, Hope. How are you? Good to see
Hi,
you.
Dawn. Thanks. Great to see you. Great to be with you. And thank you
I'm,
for this opportunity.
oh, please, the pleasure is all mine. I'm so happy that you're here. So let's talk about it, Hope. We're talking about courage to choose yourself. What was the turning point when you realized you needed to take ownership of your own path?
I just felt like I was doing a lot of work, putting in a lot of hours, not feeling like people. I think the people who participated in the events appreciated it, but the people that I reported to did not. And I just felt like I couldn't quite do things the way I wanted to, the way I felt they needed to be done. And it was like it was time. It almost wasn't a choice, which was
Hmm.
kind of nice. It's like, I really have to do this. It's scary.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's harder than I thought it would be, but it's very worthwhile and very rewarding. And it's nice to have that sense of control over my own work, my
Hmm.
own destiny, my own rewards. It feels good. And for those people who are listening who might be thinking about taking that step, I totally recognize how scary it is, but I really do feel it's worth it. If you have that desire,
Hmm.
um, it really is worthwhile.
Yeah, and especially when something comes so naturally. So for our listeners and viewers who don't know our relationship, when I had my bakery in Cliffside Park, I belonged to the Fort Lee Regional Chamber of Commerce, and I met Hope. And I attended the galas and I attended events, and Hope organized my ribbon cutting ceremony and all of these wonderful things that a chamber of commerce brings to small businesses, celebrating community, celebrating the small business collaborations, and so on and so on.
Yep.
So I know totally how it feels to leave a job where, sure, I get it, it's a paycheck and it's stability, but when there's just something in your heart that speaks to you, just got to take the leap and you have to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's important to have a good support group.
Mhm,
My family has been fantastic. My husband, because even though I I had a paycheck, now it's whatever work I bring in,
mhm.
but he never let that get in the way. It was like, "Do it. You're good at it. It's gonna be great." And he's always been supportive. My kids have been very supportive. My friends have been very supportive.
That's wonderful.
So it's that makes a big difference.
Of course it does. Of course it does, because it gives you sort of the comfort level and maybe peace of
It
mind.
is. It is. It is. It is.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. So as you were making the decision to do this on your own and take that leap, what fear or doubt came up, if at all?
Um, the funny thing is, I think that I naively thought that it was gonna be easy, and it's not easy starting a new business.
Right.
But, I just again, that momentum was there, that desire was there, so I just didn't let anything, and I'm still not letting anything stop me. It's been hard. I know a lot of business people, but a lot of them are sole practitioners. They
Mhm.
have their own businesses and they're not financially ready to do events.
Mhm.
Although I think one of the big misconceptions of businesses is that an event has to cost a lot of money and I couldn't possibly do it. And there's actually been research done that shows that an event will pay for itself if it's properly organized. And at this point, I know what I'm doing. So if you hire me, you have that knowledge, that experience behind
Mhm.
me. And then it really does pay for itself in that you're getting people either into your store or your business to see what it's like and what you do and how you do it and who's working with you. When we would do it with the chamber and we went to your bakery, and people were like, wow, we
Yeah.
didn't know you were here.
I
We didn't
know.
know
I
you
know.
did this. And
Right.
it's so important to get your name out there, to get your brand out there. And I think an event, um, to both maybe thank if you have a couple of clients, even if it's a small business and it's just a couple of clients, and you invite them to come to your office or your place of business, bring in coffee and some Danish or whatever,
Right. A little
whatever
something sweet.
breakfast
Right.
food
Right.
that you wanna have. But, the point is, if you have an event where you're thanking your clients or you're thanking your employees, I've always found that to go so far. I mean, my husband also had a business and he had employees, and it was the holiday time. And I said, "What are you doing for your employees?" He goes, "We're a small business. What do you mean?" I said, "Mark, they're your employees. You have to
Right.
say thank you." And
Right.
so we did. We brought in breakfast, and they were so bowled over by this. They were just so appreciative. And it really changed the whole dynamic
Oh, of
of,
course it does.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Showing
really did.
appreciation and saying thank you in whatever form, right? Whether that's a small little Christmas outing to go out to dinner, or whether that's a little tiny gift for your employees, or a little event where you're just saying, "Hey, you know what? Let's just clear the air of all the work, because the work is always going to be there, and let's just take however long to just celebrate each other." I mean,
Yeah, get to know each other
of
better.
course, it's a wonderful time. About let's before I get into questions about how it feels to be your own boss and challenges and all of that other kind of fun stuff, why don't you talk about the new business, please?
Well, the interesting thing is I'm trying to do a couple of different market segments. So one is weddings,
Mhm.
which is huge. I mean, it's almost overwhelming sometimes. There's so much involved, and I've been on the Knot for almost a year, listed there as
Okay.
a vendor. Honestly, I can't say I feel it's been that worthwhile. It's very expensive, but I am looking into other ways of getting my name out there. I'm working on a new marketing plan actually, which is pretty exciting.
Mhm.
And besides weddings, I still love to work with small businesses who can't afford to have an event person maybe be on their staff, and also medium-sized businesses who still don't have an in-house person doing their events.
Right.
And I really find that really stimulating to work with business people and help them grow their business and learn about their business, like we were just talking about.
Mhm.
I'm working both very different markets,
Right.
but I think they're important markets, both of them. Because one is a long term project. The wedding, you have to
Sure.
start at least 6 months in advance to be prepared. So I have had inquiries to do day of, which is you're coordinating everything the day of, all the different vendors that are there and so forth. And even then, you need to start at least a month in advance to know who the vendors are, what their contracts say, what's expected of them, so that I know how to coordinate.
Absolutely. Planning is key. Planning is key. I would rather overplan for something and not be stuck in it where you become your own worst enemy. I don't mean it that way, but I would rather be thinking about it in advance and overplan it than be running around like chicken without
So
its head, which is not
exactly.
fun.
I have a wedding coming up in October. I've done at least 3 or 4 iterations of a timeline, and by the way, one of the best investments I ever made. Shout out to Eddie Babbage, who does Timeline Genius. This thing is a genius because it prompts you to think about things that you might not have thought about to put in the timeline.
Nice.
It's incredible, incredible, all the details that you want to be there.
Mhm.
And so I've gone through this and it keeps bringing up questions that I then have to discuss with the bride and the groom and arrange for it either to happen or not happen, or but at least address it.
Right.
So I feel very confident and good going into it because all these questions have come up,
Right.
and we've resolved them. And so now we can just go have a great day.
Yeah, and for me personally, knowing you, Hope, and everything that you did in your former role with the Chamber of Commerce, doing events is, I feel, so in your wheelhouse because you get to then work with the small businesses, which is what you were all about, that community,
Yes.
building that community, supporting those small businesses, whether that's a baker to do the wedding cake, or that's a local florist to do the flowers, or a photographer, and so on. We could start naming all of the components
Photographer.
of
Right.
planning
Right.
a
DJ.
major
Yeah.
event. Right, right, exactly. I feel like that just sits with you so well because you've done that for, a gazillion years.
I have, I have. It's so interesting to meet new people that are doing their thing, whether it's
Sure.
photography, whether it's music, the DJ. And it's such a great experience because it really is an important part of what I'm doing to speak with each of them well before the wedding. And I will be meeting with the key players in the next week or two with the bride and groom. That's important. And we did a couple of weeks ago, we did a walkthrough of the church and the venue where the reception is going to be. So I know the layout and
Right.
I know where things need to happen. And it, it's all contributing to a comfort level that is great to go into an event with that kind of confidence.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree. I agree 100%. So, what surprised you the most about being your own boss?
I guess I underestimated how easy it was going to be to really reach out to people and get them to see how important this is for them, how important it can be,
Mhm.
but I haven't let it stop me, and I think that's important to just keep going. I keep going to networking events from different chambers and BNI and all different kinds of organizations,
Mhm.
and slowly but surely, it's growing, and I'm getting work, and you just have to keep with it, but it is surprising that, it's so hard even with being on the knot. So, I would get a ping on my phone,
Mhm.
"So and so wants to talk to you about your business. She's getting married on this date." And, like, as soon as I got it, I'd reach out to that person. No response. I'd
Oh,
reach out again. No response. And, like, the ghosting thing is a
yeah.
really big thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it
it's
is.
like, why do you reach out if you don't want to have a conversation? Just a conversation.
Yeah, that definitely is difficult. I mean, when I had my shop, it was less that sort of experience of having people just totally, as I would say growing up, diss you, because I'd walk in. So I was talking always
Right,
really
right.
more physically talking to the customer because they were walking into my shop. I see that in even in the other industry that I'm working in, I'm a New Jersey licensed producer. So I sell insurance, and people call and they're interested in insurance, and you take their vital information and you run quotes for them, and you have this whole sort of nice pretty package that you want to go back and present them, and then you can never get in touch with the person again.
I know,
It's bananas. It's almost like didn't you want this? Like, yeah,
I know.
I don't understand it
A
either.
and my husband has sold cars and had the same thing happen. Someone would call, make an appointment. Either they never showed up or when then they came in, they decided, well, maybe I don't really want to buy now. So it's not something that's specific to your business or mine. It
Right.
happens all the time,
Right.
but it's frustrating, but you
Sure.
can't let it get to you.
Right. No,
You have to
absolutely.
just keep that enthusiasm and keep going.
So, being your own boss, is this how you envisioned it to be?
Some of it, yes.
Okay.
I like having the freedom to determine what my day is gonna look like, and I can put in my exercise in the morning or if there's a networking event in the morning, I can get it in the afternoon, but I feel like I have more control over my day. So in that respect, I do love it. My creativity, I feel, is at a peak working by myself
Mhm.
and trying different things, and
Well,
that's
yeah, you're your own boss. So who's gonna yell at you? Yourself? Which sometimes, maybe you want
well,
to.
sometimes I do. Sometimes I have to
I've done
admit I
that.
do.
I've done that.
That wasn't such a smart thing to do maybe, but
But you know what? How do I wanna word it? You're expressing your creativeness, right? Like you're not disallowing yourself to do something. I know it was a double negative, but you get my point.
yeah, I do. I do, and that's right, and that is the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem when you're working, especially in a company or a big company where there's a lots of procedures and, you have to do something in a certain order. And here doing it myself, I don't have to jump through all those hoops.
Right.
I can get from A to B easier, faster,
Sure.
like without all the protocol, I guess is the
Well,
right
not
word.
all the protocol and all the other people that you have to get in touch with or appease. Or look, I worked in corporate for 20 something years. So, I totally get it. You worded that in a very nice way. I was going to throw in maybe some more colorful words to describe how you get from A to B when you're in a corporate environment. And I do not and will not ever really poo poo my corporate experience because it gave me everything that I needed in order to do everything that I did do and everything that I still do today. So
Right.
I'm
The
very thankful
structure
for that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm very thankful for that experience, though, yeah. Okay. Well, we're just
with
going to
all
leave
due
it.
respect.
With all due respect, that's exactly right. So, how do you keep that balance for yourself? So, let's say there's a challenging thing that comes up, or let's say there's a vendor that was originally on board and now they pull out. So, how do you deal with the challenges? How do you sort of pivot and get things done?
Well, thankfully, I haven't had to deal with that yet,
Okay, good.
but I think it would depend on who it is in the food chain.
Hmm.
If it's a photographer, I have a list of photographers, I have a list of florists, I have a list of all the main vendors that
Right.
I would need to do a wedding, for example,
Hmm.
and so I can, in a pinch, reach out to someone and make that substitute,
Hmm.
thankfully, and that is purposefully why I go to the networking events and meet different people and get to know what their work is like. So,
So,
yeah,
you have
you
a
have to
long
do that.
list and not a
And
short
even
list.
I have a long list.
Good.
And when it comes to doing a corporate event, it's a little more complicated because I do have to answer to
Sure.
somebody, and I may have to answer to that somebody, but there's also more people to draw from that way,
Hmm.
so that's kinda nice, getting different opinions on what they think will work or not work, and so that's another thing. I think it's important when you're coming in as a consultant type person
Hmm.
and you're working in a business that you really need to talk to not just one person, but even if that's the person that's going to ultimately decide if they're going to hire me, but to speak with who the other key people are that report to that person and get a feel for what they think about what I'm dreaming up
Right.
because that builds a connection with them, and
Hmm.
then they feel they're a part of the plan, not just taking my plan. It's
Right.
our plan.
Right.
That's
Right.
really important.
So you said that your family was very supportive, and I know how important that is to have a really good network via your family, but also other people outside of your family, a nice connection and networking group. So how do you feel taking the step and having the courage to do your own thing? How do you feel that that's impacted them?
Well, it's funny that having this discussion today, earlier today, I met with a group of women who I've been meeting with now for, I guess, about a year. And it is the most supportive, most open, most honest group of people that I've ever dealt with. And we talked about that today, how unusual it is, how special it is, how we know we could count on one another. And we're not best friends.
Right.
We don't know one another all that well. I've gotten friendlier with a few people in
Hmm.
particular
Hmm.
and slowly getting to know more, but it's such an amazing support group.
That's wonderful.
We don't talk that much really about my business, but just the support for me as a person,
Hmm.
which gives me the courage to go do what I need to do.
I get it. Reason, season, lifetime. Lots of people come through your life in and out of our lives for a reason, for a season, for a lifetime. I have friends that I know from grammar school who
Me
I went to
too.
high school with, and then I went to college with them, and I'm still in touch with them. Majority of my very close friends are from high school. I do have then a nice group of friends that are from my young, earlier corporate life. But I totally get it. That's throughout having the business and doing a lot of networking events and going to a lot of networking events. It's so good to have that core group of people around you. And it may not be that core, meaning it stays just the 5, 6, 7 of you, however many it is, just for that's it, and nobody else sort of wavers in and out. But it's so important to find people that are your tribe. And even if it's just, hey, I'm having a bad day, or I don't know how to deal with this vendor, or I'm feeling a little stuck today for whatever reason. And you're right, it does give you courage.
It does. It does.
That's
They make you
wonderful.
feel like you can do anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
absolutely. So, how do you envision your business growing over the next, you know
Well, I'm actually, as I said, putting together kind of a revised marketing plan because I want to focus more on businesses
Mhm.
and develop a relationship with a few companies that really I can do work with, and we can make a schedule for a whole year of what's gonna happen, when we're gonna do what,
Right,
and why. And, still keeping the wedding market where I am looking into other ways to get my name out there that isn't as costly, to be honest with you.
right, right,
So, interestingly, since I've been looking, I have sat in on some webinars of people who are also in the wedding planning business who give such great advice. It's so inspirational,
yeah,
and they give some really good advice. So
good,
I feel confident going forward that it's gonna be a good year.
good, good. I know it's gonna be a good year. So, if you're gonna think back to little Hope, who learned all of these skills from her mom, would you think that this is where you would be finally?
Um, hmm, I it's not that surprising to me, honestly, and yet it is. I don't know that little Hope had the courage
Well,
to be her own boss. That took some growth,
mhm.
but I th I think, yeah, it is where I should be.
I absolutely think it's totally where you should be, because when I think back to when I was little and I always wanted to cook and be in the kitchen with my mother, and it's a wonder why I never went to cooking school, but again, I'm I'm a product of the environment that I grew up in. My parents were very much like, you need to get a job, you need to get medical benefits, you need to get a 401k. All very good advice, and I followed their direction because that was the advice they gave, and it's a wonder that it took me this long to finally get there and do the bakery thing. So, and sometimes you just literally need that push out the door to be able to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. It's true.
So, if there's a listener or a viewer and they're on the fence about taking that leap to do it, what would you tell them?
I would say sit down and make a list for yourself. Like, first of all, financially, is this something that you can do?
Mhm.
And if not, maybe you want to try and find someone who is either willing to give you a small business loan or some financial backing. The finance part is important. I'm lucky in the business that I'm in that I can do it from my home, so I don't have that overhead, but it depends what kind of work you're talking about. Like, you need a shop to
Right.
sell your baked
Right.
goods, and that's a big expense. So, I'm lucky in that sense. I just think aside from knowing that financially you're gonna be okay,
Mhm.
if it's something you really wanna do, I say go for it. I really do say go for it.
Change is scary, but also change allows us to grow so much. And if it's easy, well, then maybe the change is not that difficult for us. But if the change is a little bit harder, just think how much more we're growing because we're pushing ourselves and totally putting ourselves outside
Out
of that
there.
comfort zone. Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Hope, before we go, I ask every guest the same question because I believe the stories we leave behind say so much about how we've showed up in this world. So, what is one story, big or small, that you hope people remember you for?
Um, I guess it's that I really do care about the people that I work with and for. And so when I take on a client, uh, my arms are around them and I'm taking care of them in every possible way. And actually, that's kind of why I named my company Your Perfect Event, because I want it to be all about them,
Mhm.
whether it's their wedding, whether it's a business meeting that is important to their brand, to their business. The first thing I do is sit and have a conversation. And so and see what their vision is and how can we then make it a reality. So I just think it's important to keep that in your head and go forward.
I have wonderful, fond memories of you, Hope, and all of the supportive and loving things that you did when you were part of the chamber. For me, when I had my business, in connecting me with other small businesses, in collaborations, in just, hey, Dawn, maybe you want to talk to so and so because XYZ. So,
Or come to a networking event and meet some people,
right,
you know?
right.
I spent a lot of time when I was with the chamber making phone calls before an event, not just to have a good crowd there, but because I know it's hard to put yourself out there, but if
Yeah,
someone calls and asks you, I think it makes a difference, and I think that's why a lot of the events were successful
absolutely.
because
I absolutely agree, and I know that you did it with a lot of love. So that's that's something that I
thanks.
fondly remember.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Hope, this was wonderful, and I am so happy that you were here and that you got to be part of the story today. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of Dawn of a Story. If you've heard something that moved you today, made you laugh, made you think, share it with someone you love. Please like and subscribe to the show. And if you're feeling brave, I'd love to hear your story by commenting below. It helps other story lovers find us too. If you'd like to reach out to Hope and her company, Your Perfect Event, you can get her through yourperfecteventnj.com. I will also put that in the show notes. Until next time, keep listening, keep sharing, and keep telling your story. Thank you, Hope, so much.
Stay happy, be well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
too.